Lots of focus on earnings and earnings expectations at this stage of the game. What are you making of the kind of trading activity we're seeing play out at the moment?
Indeed, we expect trading activity in the next coming weeks and trading sessions to be driven by the earnings, especially for the financial counters. You saw KCB trading upwards on the back of improved earnings, first half earnings, and we expect this also to happen for the other financials. In the next weeks, a few of the financials are expected to release results, and this is also expected to drive trading activity on these counters.
Well, certainly KCB has set the tone for the financial sector. What are your expectations, very broadly speaking, around earnings out of the banks in Kenya moving forward?
Well, definitely we do expect moderate growth on some of the banks, and we expect equity, for example, Equity Bank, Cooperative Bank, Stanchart to come out strongly this first half. And also the mid-tier banks are also expected to perform moderately well. So the financials still are a close watch for most investors in today's market. Let's
take a look at Barclays there, because there's a lot of ramping up in the share price that we're seeing. It firmed yesterday, close on 0.75% to close at 65 shillings. And we know that there's been talk of a special dividend being declared. Do you have any insight into the possibility of that special dividend emerging?
Well, it is not very certain, but certainly if the company is adequately capitalized, and if they go ahead and they get the money from Standard Chartered from the sale of their custody business, then it's very likely they would give an increased dividend payout to shareholders, because the bank is really not embarking on an aggressive expansion plan or any significant expansion operations within Kenya. So it is very likely that there will be an increased dividend payout this year.
Well, talking about earnings expectations, it has been centered around the banks, but we have seen many of these players come out with just as positive trading updates. We had Nation Media yesterday that it sees a double-digit profit rise this year. Market reaction to that announcement, because this does come after the company experienced a 15% fall in profit last year.
Yes, certainly. Well, the increase in ad spend for most companies, increased outlook, definitely does bring positive results to media companies. But we also expect equity reaction on this stock. But again, you realize there are also liquidity constraints on this particular stock.
Well, taking a look at the fact that we've got this company having been dragged down by smaller advertising budgets held by corporates, there were also quite a few cash-guzzling investments, if we can call it that, at home and in neighboring countries that weighed down on profits in the past. And for now, we've got this company, nevertheless, seeming very optimistic about its regional expansion. Tanzania and Uganda are expected to edge into the black and break even this year. What's your take on the management of those operations?
The management of these operations, I think, has turned out pretty well, given it's a company that's just growing into the region. And we'll know maybe better by the end of the year to see whether these operations have indeed broken even, and the impact on profitability, overall profitability of this company.
Well, certainly it will be interesting to see what kind of profits these companies turn around, because we've got the group now eyeing entry into South Sudan, Rwanda and Zambia as well. In the meantime, we've seen, with the likes of Kestrel Capital, what kind of reaction, such a positive trading update can do for investor sentiment. The danger, though, is that much of the support, if we look at Kestrel Capital specifically, is being provided by speculative investors at this stage on the back of those first half earnings. So to what extent are you pricing in that risk factor?
Well, of course, we have noticed some speculative trading, but definitely you realize that with increased liquidity after the share split, this was largely expected. But right now you realize that Kestrel Capital has traded strongly within the past few months, and we do not anticipate any significant downside risk to this particular stock. Yes, there have been talks of some litigation going on in the Kenyan court system, but it's still not. We still not haven't gotten word of how this might turn out. But for now, we don't anticipate any significant downside risks to this stock, or in any case, what investors would want to see happening on this particular stock?
Well, certainly the market seeming to be in consensus there, because we've had that share price rise just over 10% over the past 1 month. In the meantime, Tanzania's Precision Air is planning an IPO before the end of the year. Now, no details have really emerged on this transaction, except that KQ would have to then reduce its stake. What do you see this spelling for KQ's operations specifically?
Well, definitely, Precision Air has been a good partner for them in Tanzania for scheduled domestic and international flights coming out of Tanzania. And now reducing their stake might not be will taken be very well by Kenya Airways, but also you realize that Kenya Airways has also got its exposure within the domestic flight network within the region, having a hub in Nairobi. So it's still unclear what why the company chose to reduce its stake in Precision Air, but I think more details will be available to us in the coming months.
Well, as we've got the Dar Stock Exchange may well receiving some kind of boost, we've got Kenya headlines reading that Uchumi Supermarkets, 12,000 shareholders may have to wait longer to trade in the company's shares. Details there and market reaction to that, the hold back on trading resuming on Uchumi Supermarkets?
Yes, definitely. I believe that before the companies are allowed to release back on the Nairobi Stock Exchange, the Capital Markets Authority will need to be satisfied of the company meeting certain criteria. You realize that in the past, the company has been hampered by an underfunded balance sheet, a deficit in shareholder funds, and once this has reverted and gone positive, then it's going to be very very possible that the relisting can be done, but also it might not be very soon, because certain thresholds need to be met by the company before they are allowed back to relist.